Okay, I want to start here on activity number 13. And so here we go. And this is activity number 13. Here's the information I've given you. Now let's go ahead and look at what the book wants us to do here. In the book, it's basically telling us to use Wordart, format cells, indentation, format horizontal and vertical alignment within the cells. Okay, so I'm going to move this over to the other screen just so I have it available to me as we work. The reality is the instructions given in the book here on this one aren't so great. And so I'm going to go a very different direction. And this is what I've been doing in class. So the very first thing I'm going to do is select all of this. And you saw what I did. I started in this cell right here, pressed and held the left mouse button down, drug all the way to the A, and Control C. Come back over to here and Control V. Paste that in there. Okay, I'm going to get this out of the way real fast. And at this point, I want to get rid of this first row that came in ugly looking. Delete row. That's a very common thing by now. You should be familiar with that. Now, I want to set my width, but I don't know what I want to set it to yet. So I'm going to drag this over here and try to get an idea as to what I actually set this thing to. So I'm going to right click on it now that I've resized it. It says 152, cancel. Okay. So let's give that a try and see what it looks like when I select everything up here. And to do that, again, I went from A all the way to G. I pressed and held. Now, you've got to be careful to make sure when you're doing this, that you don't accidentally do things like that, okay? And that's the reason why I frequently discourage you from doing it, from selecting multiple columns this way. But what I did is I moved the cursor directly over the A, so it's not a hand, pressed and held. I know it's showing a hand right now, but I drug all the way over there to H. Actually, H is too far. I want to go to G. Good. And format. Oops, not format. Sorry. Right click. Resize columns. Let's try 150. Okay. So that all came out reasonable. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do before we do anything else, we know we want to do it, is we're going to go ahead and use text wrapping, format, wrap text, wrap. Okay, so far we've got, now how I found that number is I first manually adjusted this one here. I picked this one here because the words grand opening stood out so well. And then I manually adjusted it. Then I looked to see what I'd manually adjusted it to. It was around 150-ish. And then I made everything to that size. Okay. Then I went ahead and did the text wrapping. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and merge this first row here. You can see what I've done there. I'm going to merge cells. Okay. Now, in a moment, I am going to get rid of the word April, just so you are aware as to what's going on here. Next, I want to get all of these a relatively common row height. So let's look and see what the row height is here. Resize row. I'm just looking to see what it's set to. 21, cancel. So let's go ahead and make them all about 40. Okay, right click, resize rows. And I'm just going to go ahead and type in 40 and see what it looks like. Ooh, not nearly enough. Okay, right click, resize rows. Let's go with 80. Good, like that. Okay, so far we've got all of these done pretty much the way we want them. So the next thing we're going to do here is that we want to use, they want us to use Wordart, which actually does do something relatively nice here. So we're going to go ahead and go for that effect. So I'm in this one here. I'm going to go to Insert, Drawing, and I'm going to select Wordart. Now, it might barf on me a few times, and I'll have to start a couple of times. So let's just try typing in April and hit Enter. Okay, it didn't barf on me. If you get an error, just close it and reopen it a bunch of times. It'll eventually start working. I know that sounds like terrible advice, but that's basically what's going to happen. Okay, fill color. I'm going to go with orange. And let's see the outline. I'll go with green. And I'm going to make that thick enough so I can actually see what I did. Good. Good. and April. And I want to use a different font. I want to use a serif font. So I'm going to come over here, choose a serif font. Remember, what that means is that little line at the bottom of the letters just looks a little bit nicer. Okay, pretty much there. Save and close. Okay, I do want to get rid of the word April in that, so I'm going to move this a little ways out of my way. Want to get rid of the word April there. Good. Want to make this tall enough for that to fit in. Now I'm going to grab my text, my Wordart, drag it in there, kind of get it a little bit centered. And centered to you? Yeah, good. Good. April. Okay, so now we've got April in there. Now I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to select these right here and go into that orange theme right there. Fill color in orange. Now, obviously, in this case, we now want to make the text bold so it'll stand out a little bit. Going again with that same fonts. And again, you could use Times Roman or whatever font you find attractive. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to center these. Again, we're just trying to make this thing look attractive. Okay, great. Now, you might say, well, wait a minute. You don't have the letters there yet. Not yet. Or the day numbers. Not yet. Okay, so here I'm going to right-click, insert one row above. Right-click, insert one row above. Okay. Now, I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go ahead and, big surprise, I'm going to type in 1. Tab 2. Good, that's enough. 2. Okay, let's go ahead. 16 point font. 16, I keyed that in because otherwise it won't work. 16 point font. Same font style. That's not 16. 1, 6, enter. Good. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and double click there so that it automatically adjusts to those. And I think I want the days in the middle. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to center align those numbers. Looks good. Let's go with this same orange here. So Format Painter, drag it across. Now, the only thing is that did resize them, so we're going to go back to 16. Actually, you know what? These should be 16 too. Okay, now that we've got that done, 6, 7 tab, 8, good. Select those two, drag over. We got the formatting that we want, good, click, Format Painter, drag across, done. We're just going to come right here, double click, and that's going to set the row height there. Do the same thing here, 12, 13, 14, tab 15, good. So I pressed and held, drug to there. Okay, good. Again, Format Painter. Double click right here to automatically adjust the row height. 20, 21, tab 22, good. Select those two. Good. Okay, Format Painter, drag over these, adjust row height. Good. And 27, 28, oops, tab 29, tab 30. Good. Here, Format Painter. Okay, so we got most of our calendar here. You know, as I look at it, really, because we've really standardized there, let's go ahead and make this one green, I think. Okay, using the same green we used here. Okay, so I think it'll just look better. Green. Only obviously we're going to have to change the color of the font of the text. So text color and okay, good. Okay. And again, just making it stand out, we're using colors that are used in other places in the image for consistency, just again to try to make it look a little bit nicer. And so we've got a decent looking one here. We got a couple things going on that we need to fix still though. So let's go ahead and we're just going to select this row here because they want you to go ahead and obviously do center align. That's fine. But this one here, which you haven't used before, vertical align, it's going to center these things up and down there too, okay? And I do want to make sure that this is actually black, because remember when we copy in from Canvas, sometimes it gets messed up, and that looks okay. Good. Format Painter, click. Format Painter, click. Format Painter, click. Format Painter, click. Okay, and so it wasn't that hard, and we put together a pretty nice looking little calendar there. So go ahead and turn that in. I realize that that differed a lot from the instructions in the book, but the end result was to have a nice looking calendar. Okay, so go ahead, make sure you turn that in. And I'm also going to be doing some explanation for the Excel one because frankly, I didn't like the Excel and I want you to see how to use the calendars that are already formatted for you in Excel. So that'll be the next video right under this one.